Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ellen Red. I'm a telepathic communicator, and I'm also a remote viewer. And I have been talking this morning to the Pleiadians to try to get an understanding about what's going on with China, the tariffs, Trump, and how that is playing out in terms of the Great Awakening, and what does it mean for the ascension process. And so I want to share with you what the Pleiadians have told me. First of all, if you're new to my channel, I just want you to know that I don't pick sides in politics. I love everyone, and I want to see everyone's do very well, and I want to see humanity change and do a paradigm shift into a different reality where we are no longer divided by things like politics. So when I bring forth information that has to do with any political character, I'm not speaking from any perspective of being on one side or the other. I don't play into that at all whatsoever. I'm just going to bring forth the information from a higher perspective from the Pleiadians and from the higher world. Pleiadians, for those of you that don't know, are angelic beings that came from a higher dimension, and they're very involved, as are other guardian alliance of light or galactic type beings who are working with humanity to help humanity restore heaven on earth codes, which is really the way that earth was once designed. So here's what the Pleiadians want me to share, and I just want you to keep an open heart and an open mind as I share the whole bit of information so that you can hear everything that they have to say. Please try to remember not to be triggered if there's anything that I say that offends you. Try to feel into it and try to lean into it so that you can receive the message, and hopefully it can help you to expand your consciousness and to evolve more. Most of you probably already understand that from the Pleiadians' perspective, but also from a worldview perspective, that Americans have been taught that they are the leaders of the world, and they've been taught that these fancy handbags that are being exposed now in China as being basically cheap. It's kind of like the emperor's new clothes, the way that the Pleiadians are explaining it to me. So they're just saying that in a lot of ways, these ideals about freedom that America was founded on were really almost a complete psyop. And whereas Americans are oftentimes working 3 jobs, they're can't afford their homes anymore, they can't afford food anymore, they're in debt with student loans, they're complete debt slaves. This is coming from the Pleiadians. I've been shown this from the other world decades ago, and I've worked very hard for decades to try to help humanity see that a lot of the things that humans have been taught to believe in their consciousness really aren't real and are manufactured through mind control programs. Now, please remember that I'm sharing things that I've seen from the energetic world. It may be considered true to some and not to others, so this is for entertainment purposes only. However, what's happening with China exposing what's going on in China in terms of the products that Americans are buying and way overpaying for is connected to the Great Awakening. And here's what they want you to understand, that the Pleiadians want you to understand that this process of showing and exposing the gross abuse, not only of the Chinese people to exploit them and their cheap labor, but also to exploit the American people and the Italian people and the German people and all around the world, but especially the Americans, that they've also been grossly exploited to lure them into what we would call maybe an emperor's new clothes, or false ideals of what value is, so that they are working 3 jobs to overpay for purses and items that are pennies on the dollar from China. Now, why does this matter when it comes to the Great Awakening? It matters very much when it comes to the Great Awakening, because part of the awakening process for all of humanity is to stop suffering human suffering. And again, Americans have been taught that they're the most free, when in reality, almost every other country, you get your summers off, and you get an hour or 2 lunch breaks, and you get time off when you have babies. And so Americans have been taught to believe that they're free, but they've actually been really led into complete debt slavery. And this has created massive problems for the souls of all of humanity, but especially for the American people. It's causing people to not keep their babies. It's causing people to get divorces, high divorce rates. It's causing stress. It's causing people basically are going insane because they can't handle the pressure of all of these responsibilities to keep paying for these high prices. Housing prices are absolutely super overinflated, and it is not a natural event according to the Pleiadians. And also all of the exposure that we're getting with China and the Chinese people who are helping us as our brothers and sisters to show us what's really been going on, to show Americans that they've been grossly fooled into buying these items with fancy labels on them that are not worth what you've been paying for. Imagine how many people are working, and they have 4 kids, and they're working 3 jobs to try to keep up the appearances of the Jones, and overpaying for something like that when it could have fed their kids all year long. So these are very important issues when it comes to the Pleiadians, because they really do want to see humanity living and thriving in a more balanced perspective. And the imbalances, even of financial issues throughout the world, affects suffering, because it causes great harm to all of the souls, and therefore it affects everybody. Additionally, the American people in general, and they're not the only nation that does this, but certainly the American people, the Japanese, there's many cultures out there that are taught to consume so much. Americans are the top consumers in the world. And so Americans have been taught to consume. And what's happening is it's also creating some environmental absolute catastrophes for Mother Earth, and therefore this will affect other planetary systems and all of creation. And this gross consumerism is also a result of mind control programs that have been played out for the American people, but also for humanity in general. So what's happening in China is actually really exposing a lot more than just these issues between tariffs and not. The tariffs, in a certain way, actually are becoming a very divine blessing for all of humanity, and I don't know if Trump exactly intended for it to go that way or not. I can just say that you know, in the long run, even after you pay tariffs to China, and China has to pay them, if you're buying directly from China and paying tariffs, both Chinese people and the United States will have a much better situation. And all it's going to do is cut out that middle person, the Louis Vuittons and the L'Oreals, and cut them out of the picture, because in reality they're not producing anything. They've just created an illusion for you, and then they've created this idea through fancy commercials to make you feel like you have to have that item with that label on it in order to look pretty like they do on TV. And all of this is just actually witchery, and it is a form of black magic witchery and sorcery. So it's an illusion. And what's happening with these tariffs, according to the Pleiadians, and what's happening with the Chinese people, according to the Pleiadians, is that this is part of the Great Awakening. And this is exposing so much of that illusion that so many people have been caught into. And in the long run, it's going to turn out good for humanity on all sides, if we can take the politics out of things and we can just look at it from a spiritual perspective. What's really happening is it's a cleansing. It's a cleansing of parasite energies that some of these companies have been using through witchery and through sorcery, by using these black magic witches in Hollywood to promote their fancy items that are really just being made by Chinese people in Chinese companies for pennies on the dollar. In general, I'm not saying every single item is, but you get my point. This is what the Pleiadians want you to understand, and they want you to know that this is, believe it or not, part of the Great Awakening, because it's more exposure. It's more exposure to showing you that your life has been built on illusion. Our cost of living should never be, especially in the United States, it should never be where it's at right now. And the only reason it is because Americans have been led to believe that they are better than others, which also does not align with Source.